Welcome, family, to another episode of the Midnight Moods podcast. I'm Coco the Conscious, aka Mr. Moods. It's conscious conversations, real talk with real ones. Our real one for today, our special guest is Saha Jones. What up, Saha?
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm curious about what my first podcast is going to
I'm so grateful
sound like
that we're the first,
to everyone listening.
I'm grateful that Midnight Moods is the first podcast that you chose to be on. So thank you. We are very grateful here. Saha is a next generation project development.
Next generation development manager.
Next generation development manager. Yes.
At the Art Gallery.
At the Art Gallery of New South
Yes.
Wales. Shout out to the Art Gallery of New South Wales. We met at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. And that's how it was your speech that really hit me. It gave me goosebumps. I was like, whoa. Okay, I've been to many art gallery events because mom's an artist, and ever since I was a kid as well. But I have never actually kind of had goosebumps like that. And this is from the heart, where it's just like, wow, that is, and where I'm at consciously, and how I'm kind of intaking and perceiving the world, you're really echoing a lot that has been streaming through. And I was like, who is that? I mean, and I met you at the door, but I didn't put two and two together until after, when we were introduced. So amazing speech, powerful speech, and just the way that you were just paying homage to the First Nations people as well, and really making everyone hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone says it as I don't want to say a chore, but you know how everyone, it's something that we must do now. But the way you said it, it wasn't empty. It was charged. There was so much essence and intention there. So that really hit me. And then that's why I was like, okay, we got to connect somehow, some way, whatever, whether you come on the podcast, coffee, whatever. So I'm grateful that you're here, and that speech was powerful. And that's what my little antennas went up. I was like, whoa, did you write that speech?
I never write speeches.
On the fly?
It's always on the fly.
Wow.
And I don't mean to brag. I'm not trying to be boastful about that. I've had no formal diagnosis or anything, but I just think that my brain works a little bit differently. And just in what you were saying as well, that it's really humbling that you described the way that I spoke in that way, because that's the goal. I take it really, it's not that I take it seriously. It's just, I feel when you have the opportunity to speak with others and for others as a mouthpiece, the aim is to charge it, to have it be felt, and somehow find connection, somehow find a sense of unity, and and for people to not feel like they're being talked at. Yeah. And I think, like you said, with with acknowledgements these days, it's a great thing that it's becoming the norm to create a space for that to happen. But I do feel there's sort of a danger in it becoming scripted. Yeah. And that, I mean, that's a whole conversation as well. Because I think that there's a lot of fear around how to do it, how to hold that space without it being about you, but still making it personal. Yeah. Connecting with it as a human, as a person, so that the words transcend, So, I've lost my train of thought. What was the question?
No, I was just saying, it started off as, did you write the speech?
Oh, yeah. So, I get, through my job, it's a really important sort of touch point throughout the year. We have numerous events that celebrate the kind of projects that we support as a group. And I think going on a journey together, really understanding, what it means to be involved in philanthropy, that can be there's not a lot of understanding, I think, about what it means to be engaged with philanthropy, because it's seen as something that rich people do, or
true.
But yeah, as a collective supporting a cause and gathering in that way, those events are like holding court together. So the words need to kind of distill everyone's feeling in that moment and everything leading up to that. So I think a lot about what I'm going to say for weeks, months in advance.
Yeah.
So that by the time I'm up there, it's coming straight through like flow.
I feel you.
But it's not written because, and I actually also suffer from stage fright and
really,
all those things. And it's when you're in a leadership role, you have to be confident.
Yeah.
And it can be quite daunting speaking in front of a lot of people, especially people that you really respect for being there, for being in front of you, listening.
It's deep.
And respecting the platform itself as well, and the fact that I have that mic in my hand, you know.
Yeah.
So, just thinking about those speeches, they've always been really straight off the top. But much thinking. I will have sleepless nights.
Okay. Yeah.
Really and dreams and all sorts of things that will sort of come up, and what I'm reading or how I'm listening to people in the meetings that I'm having. And so that by the time I get to that 5 minutes that I've got max, I'm feeling like it's not just me talking, it's all of us in a way. So
that's powerful. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It felt important that night too, as well. It is important every time, but it being so recent, I can still sort of feel that residual collective energy that we were all sharing in that night. What the evening meant to me was also building towards a vision for a different kind of community down the track.
Yeah.
And that kind of involves stepping out of the norm and inviting communities that don't normally gather together in that context as well. So it was really important that we collaborated with the Sounds of Afrobeats community for the event, which you probably remember was celebrating a particular acquisition for the collection. And it was just it was something that I was thinking about a lot in the lead up to the event, you know, how to invite people in and for them to recognize what it is we were doing. It wasn't just a party. Yeah. And I'm not in the business of making parties, even though that is the format for how we engage.
That's how you bring people
in. Yeah, that's how you bring people together, but it's really purposeful.
Yeah.
And it goes far beyond just a social life, you know, or an interest in the arts. It's really about how much can be done when people commit to each other and give as well, and then what that giving journey can look like over time. So with the acquisition, and you probably remember from this speech too, I asked another member of our community to pronounce the names of the artists because I couldn't get it right.
You did say that, yeah.
And I was practicing because this acquisition came up, you know, probably about a year ago now. So I've had a long time to practice.
With the names, yeah.
But I couldn't get my tongue around it, and I really just needed someone else to make sure on the night that we said the artist's name and made the announcement, that person's name was said properly. You know?
That's beautiful. Yeah, because that's important.
Yeah.
That definitely is a big thing. Like when people, like, even in primary school, when they wouldn't say my name right, like I didn't have like the voice back then. Like I didn't like
to correct them.
Exactly. I didn't have that confidence. Like my throat chakra was closed. I didn't have that But like now it's a different story. But just when it
what
was...
did you get? What?
Cocoa. I had a teacher in primary school, and she used to call me Choco, which was bad, to the point where like dad and mum will come to the school and like she just didn't even care at all. She's like, you remind me of my like her mix of like her coffee mix or something. It was the most awkward, uncomfortable thing as someone like a little kid in year 3. Like majority of kids in my class were Caucasian as well, but it was just so, and I think that added to it all as well. But it's just so important saying someone's name right, because it's calling upon like the ancestors that come with that name. Do you know what I mean? And your whole lineage, everything. So it's such a powerful and profound thing. Good on you for doing that. I do remember that. That was beautiful.
And like I'm friends with that woman as well.
Okay.
So, you know, it felt like the right thing to do, and I could feel in the lead up to knowing that I was going to speak, you know, 15 minutes. I was kind of thinking, gosh, I know with my nerves I'm going to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Even though I've tried really hard. And look, you know, I'm growing up in Australia. We live in a multicultural society, but the experience of the multicultural reality still feels really siloed. It still feels really separate, and we don't often get the chance to like figure out how the opportunities to speak in other languages. It doesn't come
with ease,
because
linguistically it's different, the way the roll of the tongue, I totally get it. I
and like you're stuck in, I've tried to learn other languages, and I was most successful when I lived in Central Australia in an Aboriginal community there, and I think we can talk about that later. But you know, it was my first like really serious attempt at learning a second language. But only because it felt like so important living there, that everything hinged on me being able to connect with community, and the most obvious way to do that in my mind, and being a total fish out of water as well, not really knowing anything, was learn the language, because that's going to be how you connect. That's how I felt at the time anyway. So, and look, you know, when you're invested in something, when you have a really deep emotional investment in something, you work harder. So that's probably why I was able to pick up language more successfully. But look, in Sydney it's different, and practicing, having opportunities to practice saying people's names, and not everyone has an unusual name either, so you just take it for granted that it's important. I think people don't understand that, you know, the naming of something is so important as well. Like why did our parents name us the way they named us?
I know, it's true.
You know? And
in some cultures they name you a certain way because they're calling upon that like certain spirit or whatever it means in that culture. So names hold such a significance. It's true.
Yeah.
And like in the Western world, a lot of our names are very like, everyone's got similar names, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's
I actually, truth be told, I don't even really think I know how to pronounce my own name.
Am I pronouncing it right, by the way?
Well, that's
now that you say that, I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. It's I've got quite a mixed background.
Yeah. What is your background?
My mother's Dutch, and very much Dutch. She met my father here in the 80s, and ended up sort of staying here and settling here. So her history and her lineage is goes back pretty far, and by way of Dutch. But my father is Irish, Welsh, Afghan. Wow. And the Afghan heritage was really whitewashed from our history. I don't know if he'd like me describing it that way, but there was a lot of sensitivity around having a Middle Eastern background. So there's not much that we know about my great-grandfather at all, except for his name, and that he was Afghani from Peshawar, which is now Pakistan. So the borders change a lot. Yeah. So
can you break this down for me? Because I just learned about the partition recently.
Well,
Oh, you.
I can't do a breakdown. Okay. I can't do a breakdown, but I know like India and Pakistan, Afghanistan, that region, the borders have changed a lot. Historically, that's not so unusual thing, really. Like, borders do change.
Yeah.
But having like close proximity to different cultures, they have quite close relationships and shared cultural kind of stories as well. But my parents wanted to give me some kind of connection back to that heritage and keep it in the family, honour it in some way. So
that's beautiful, yeah. But
growing up in Australia, I think things have changed a lot. But when I was growing up, it was an unusual name, especially coupled with Jones. It was kind of problematic because it didn't make sense. Yeah. It didn't make sense to have such a clearly Arab name with such a known kind of, I guess, white name.
I was gonna, what is it? Is it a Celtic? What is Jones? Is it?
It's Welsh.
Welsh, okay, yeah.
And it's common. It's a Smith. It's one of those well-known names. Yeah. Many tongues have practiced saying that name. In other words, so so I don't even really know how my name should be pronounced because I've never had any member of my family speak Arabic or any of the languages that are connected to the name Saha. So I've just had to kind of wing it my whole life. Yeah. And I just let people pronounce it the way that they do naturally.
Wow.
I'm cool with that now.
You're all right with it.
I'm okay with that now because, it's normal, I think, for someone who hasn't seen that name before to just give it a try,
Yeah. But have you ever felt called to, I don't know, like maybe go to like a Afghanistan community and try to figure it out, like how it's pronounced or where it originates from, or has that ever?
I haven't done any deep research yet. It's definitely been something hovering in the background as a loose end, and I think I will get there one day. Just putting the pieces of the puzzle together, really, and mostly it's mostly been a conversation I've had with cab drivers, I have to say.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
I love that, yeah. I love that.
I always have kind of intimate little moments with cab drivers. And a lot of them have happened to be of Middle Eastern descent. So, or they'll ask me my name or whatever. And then that becomes the beginning of a conversation where they provide me their take on it because they, to them it means something. So I've kind of just gathered little bits of information here and there, but in every place it's different. In some places it means different things. So I think we'll have to find some time. But look, Afghanistan is one of those places in the world. It's not like jumping on a plane to Bali, Of
course. It's a total, I totally know what you're saying,
And I wouldn't even know where to start. How to engage with a country that has experienced so much war as well and so much upheaval. I wouldn't be surprised if the records are, not intact and searching for family lineages and things like that. It would be quite difficult. But it just goes to show that in one generation it can be completely lost. Yeah,
you're right. Throughout the world, that's like a common thread.
Yeah, and if the culture that you've assimilated into doesn't have the openness to embrace the stories of people moving here, I guess I don't blame people for keeping it kind of on the down low, like for fear of being judged and cast in a certain way, cast in a certain light.
Do you think that's what it is? Like like you said, the fear of, like what comes with it.
Yeah.
Is that okay? I see what you're saying.
But even just for a name, I mean, I think there's a lot of examples of where, you know, culture and race can kind of feel uncomfortable in conversations, or what you look like. But something as simple as a name, and I think I always felt really confused when my name would be pronounced by a teacher or a new person, because I lacked any knowledge myself. I couldn't
yeah, I see what you're saying.
defend the situation. I couldn't sort of step in and say, oh, this is my culture and I'm proud and you know, this is what it means. Yeah. So, but I think it's also been, maybe I've developed a bit of a relationship with it, that it's kind of a private relationship that I have too. It's something that's still unraveling for me. So yeah, it just goes to show that life is long, right?
Facts. Yeah. It is. It's a long journey, constantly growing and evolving, learning about yourself. But the name is a big one.
Yeah.
But it's like you have your own meaning for it. You've, like, you know, created your own meaning for it now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a good thing, because if you think about, like, if someone gives you a name and then you got all this that comes with it that you might have to live up to or something, but if it's like a clean slate, it's just like you create the meaning to the name, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I also think that I think there might only be one of me in the world.
I feel you. Yeah. I've never met a Saha, to be honest. My sister's Sahara.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sahara, like the desert though.
Yeah.
But I've never met a Saha.
Well, yeah, I'm not too sure of the lineages or the like epistemology of, if that's the right word.
I'm not gonna act like I know what that word means.
You know, when you break up a word and like you follow its roots back to root meanings.
Yeah, I thought it was etymology.
Etymology? Yeah. No, yeah, you're probably right. I think epistemology is something else.
Epistemology. Wow, that's interesting. I want to look that one up.
Where's my phone? I know.
Yeah, I was like, epistemology. Wow. Because I'm into etymology.
Yeah.
I love etymology.
Yeah.
Find the root word. Like, that's one of those tabs that is like always open on my like Google, the etymology site.
It just can open up a whole
every door.
World, right?
Oh my God. I go down the rabbit holes. I love it. Yeah. Like, I wasn't the one to study at school and pull out like my book and stuff, but when it comes to etymology, because I'm writing lyrics, I'm always writing down these words and then tracing them back and trying to connect the dots. I'm like, what? It's amazing. And anagrams, you know, anagrams. Like, there's some out there that will just blow your mind. Like, you know the silent and listen. Yeah. That one blew my mind.
Oh wow. I was
what the fuck? Like, the way that they're just connected.
You got to get a linguist on this show.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. That would be so much fun. That would be amazing. Yeah, that's a good...
When you're writing as well, are you really thinking more than just rhyme and storytelling, is like really embedding ideas within each word and the sounds as well?
Yeah, so when I'm writing, it's definitely like telling a story or like a stream of consciousness, but it's also a bit of wordplay. Like, that's what I'm drawn to in like some rappers that I look at that have inspired me. It's the wordplay. It's like how that word will connect with that. It's just, it's so like magical and like brilliant to me. So that's what I like to do. So part of it is looking up words and the etymology of words and then bringing them together to make something. So then, like how I used to like listen to some of my favorite rappers and have to go back and then be like, what the hell did you just say? And then I'll look up the lyric, like, whoa, because I want people to do that with like my music. So yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Actually, like I've always found it really difficult at rap concerts to even hear the lyrics. I don't know if you found that too. Like, way more pleasurable for me to listen to the album in my own time.
100%.
And like... And you can read, like, reading lyrics as well.
While listening. Yeah, of course.
But when I'm at concerts, I'm like, no idea what you're saying. Yeah. I've got to know the song well, to know exactly. And then that's what's on play in my mind because I know the song well, right? But I've just found something about a live concert.
I feel like live concerts are more for, like, the performance. Do you know what I mean? It's more for... Because I've heard from some of my favorite rappers and I know bar to bar every lyric... And I'll see him just like skip over because it's not even about like it is about it, but it's more about the performance, the energy they're giving out,
Yeah.
the connection with the crowd.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn that when I perform as well, because I'd be so fucking stuck in my head of getting every lyric right, especially when like my whole thing's to be lyrical, but it's like, no, you're there to be in the moment, be present, and
Yeah.
give out your energy. Do you know what I mean? Have that connection with
Yeah.
the people that are listening. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying about performances. Live concerts is definitely a different experience. But then you don't get that. Like when you're listening to a song, you don't get that straight energy from the person, the artist performing. I went on your Instagram. You're actually a hip hop fan.
I'm a hip hop fan.
I saw you post the KRS one.
Oh, I love KRS
How
one.
good is that one? I saw that when he was doing the not Behram, Vivaldi or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude is wild. He's the one that inspired me to make my name Coco the Conscious, because I watched that lecture that he was doing. You've seen that one with the rock star?
Yeah.
And when he said like, once you change your name and like the whole universe changes to that name, I was like, it really like unlocks. So that whole, I have that saved. I watch that all the time because that is such an amazing, powerful, what would you call it, lecture speech that he was doing at like some university. And then the way he just gets them with the rock star, and like everyone's like, you see everyone's mind get blown from such a simple thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this dude is just, knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everything. Like, bro, come on now.
Yeah, it's hard to top that era of hip hop too. I mean, I don't even really want to call it hip hop. I think I get confused now with genres. They're so hybridized, and but yeah, I don't know if you caught the caption on that Instagram post, but it was.
You thanked Talib Kweli, I'm pretty sure. Is that what you said?
I don't know if it's the same one, but if it was the one I think you're talking about, I wrote over the top of it something like, I think from now on, anyone who engages with Shakespeare should be black, and we'll all have a better time. Just, but you know that like Spike Lee, I think, is making Prince of Cats. I don't know where it's at with the.
Is he?
Yeah, so I've always because both my parents are performers and heavily into Shakespeare, so I grew up with Shakespeare.
Wow.
It's like it's the classics, so everyone's familiar with it.
Yeah.
But growing up with it sort of in the household as much as it was, and also growing up at a time where sort of hip hop was also in the background of my life. And my parents raised me as well with a lot of films by Spike Lee too. So there was like a lot going on in terms of different cultural influences as I was growing up. But I always felt that Shakespeare was so perfect for rappers, like the genre and the iambic pentameter and the flow and the words.
I see what you're saying.
And the delivery, like from every time I went to see a play put on, it was like Sydney-based actors just didn't get it right. Like it was like needed to have that. It was like there was a total lack of understanding of what was being said. Like the words just dropped. They didn't come alive. So, yeah.
Wow.
I've always felt Shakespeare should be done by rappers.
Yeah.
Or anyone who like affiliates with spoken word or anything like that. Just the musicality of language just comes alive so much more.
That's deep. I never really thought of that. To be honest, Shakespeare in school was like something I would push away heavy. Only because it was just like the lack of understanding the words. You know what I mean? And obviously the teacher teaching it. No offense to the teacher teaching it.
Yeah.
Because it was just so like theoretical. I mean, it was never, but I could, now I'm thinking if it was taught in a way where like we actually performed it and stuff, I think I might have, like gravitated to it more. If that makes sense.
I reckon go pick up like a monologue, pick up a, just Romeo and Juliet or something.
Yeah, suss it out.
And just flow through one of them as a warm up for something else. Because it's really interesting kind of construction of how to fit words together. And it's poetic, Yeah,
he's the ultimate poet. Yeah. All right. I'm going to do that. Now it's on record. I have to do it. But yeah, that's mad. Enough about me. Enough about words. We're talking about what you're doing. But that is, I will do that for sure. I want to talk about when you went to Central Australia.
Yeah.
So you were speaking the language. You learned the language. What language was it that you learned?
Well, I was learning, and I've been back in Sydney now for a couple of years, so not having it around kind of put a big stop to where that was going for me. But being immersed in it, and I was there for a couple of years, and it was unplanned. I was attempting my 5th degree that I never finished.
5th?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm one of those dropouts.
Hey, it's alright, man. I withdrew as well.
Just drop out. But always to kind of run off on an adventure that felt more important. So the opportunity came up to do a little bit of relief work out there for a friend who was going over to New York. She's an artist, and she needed me to fill in her role. And it wasn't an Aboriginal arts centre because, there's the Aboriginal art centres, or the art centres out in those areas are such important parts of the community. But it had a similar function to an art centre.
Yeah.
But it was a anangu, so that's the name of it actually means person in Pidgin Jara, anangu. But it was an organisation that was founded just formally just after the handback, but it began the process of it coming to be was around the time of the handback of Uluru. I don't know if you know much about that time. It's like early 80s. I think the official handback was in 84. So it was sort of the energy around what it means to have, or what it meant anyway, then to have an organisation that was owned and operated by Anangu. So it was such a, an amazing opportunity for me to move out there for a little while and not really know what that effect would have on my life. But it's been, hugely transformative for me. I was studying anthropology at the time, and it wasn't working. Like, I found the kind of the structuring of ideas difficult at uni, and I needed to just get out there into the world and just be immersed and not have any sort of expectation. And having grown up in Sydney, and I grew up in Newtown, and I was lucky to have had some proximity to Aboriginal communities here, because it's just such a rare experience, I think, for people. And just because of what's happened to Aboriginal cultures across the board, just being such a small percentage of the population now. But yeah, the idea of being in a place that I would have been the outsider in a way, like I would have, it was appealing to me to think about a scenario where I was the only white person, for instance, or to put it simplistically, I felt like I wanted that as a challenge, just to be kind of, in a situation where I had to really be tested. And that happened sort of immediately as well. Like the second I arrived, I felt like I'd already had so many attachments to what hadn't even played out yet. And I had all my cameras, and I had, all these dreams to like make artwork and write and do collaborative things. And the second that I got there, got off the plane, got picked up by some of the other arts workers and a couple of the ladies. And I was so conscious that I was coming into the situation already without having that sensitivity of understanding that I wasn't from there, you know? So I felt like I was like, oh, this is what I was like, oh, I am a colonizer in a way. Like my mentality coming in was like to take, you know?
Oh, that's what you're saying. Okay,
like,
that's deep.
And I had to like check, like I checked myself massively in that moment as well. I was like, wow, I didn't even realize, like, I just thought I was excited.
Yeah.
But I realized, oh no, I've come here to take. I haven't even like spent 5 minutes here yet, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's when it really dropped for me. I thought to myself, you know, what I'm going to do here is the opposite of what I thought I was going to do here. I'm going to do everything the opposite now. Like, I'm not even going to take my camera out of the bag, you know?
I love that.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And really starting from the ground up, like as though I was a baby, you know, like not having any sort of opinion on anything. And so I had to have, I needed something to root myself in, just to have some container for the experience. And it really felt like language was the best place to start, you know, just to offer that as my sign of respect, I think. And just slowly to learning what the community had encountered, even just in recent history as well, of just like being the subject or being othered, you know, or even just, I think I felt too, it's like I'm in this exotic kind of situation, and learning about all of those kinds of things at uni and theories around things, but like when you're in it and you're like, oh, that theory that I was learning about in cultural studies, that is what's happening to me right now. Wow. This is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's intense, yeah.
And so, but it was also really beautiful. It was kind of like, wow, you know, imagine if I hadn't seen that, you know?
I was going to say that's so powerful that you actually caught that. Like, you had that awareness. Like, oh, wow, I'm actually... it's like a subconscious thing. But, I don't know, I feel like not many people could notice that. Like, you'd have to step out of yourself.
Yeah.
To really, be aware and see that.
Yeah.
Because that's, just when you... Because I didn't even know where that was going when you explained it.
Yeah, no, I
was like, oh, wow, that's so intense.
I hope I explained it okay. Like, I've just...
No, you did.
There's a lot sort of going on in my head around like how to explain.
No, I totally get it. Trust me. Yeah, I totally get it. Like, but it was innocent. Do you know what I mean? Like what you're saying, like you wanted to take pictures, paint, like it was all like, that's like it wasn't like from a place of, because when you say like colonizing, like what comes with it is like all this other kind of like aggressive nature. Do you know what I mean? That's just me personally when I think of it. But it was like an innocent thing where it's like, you know, you were just there. It's just like part of the programming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
of like,
exactly.
Of like society that but it's so amazing that you could catch that. Do you know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's good on you for that. And that's very...
It was just, it wasn't even a subtle moment for me for me to say, I'm going to catch this. It was so yelling at me. It was yelling out at me. I was like... So there was no choice, you know. It was kind of like I had to make a decision, like in me. It was not. It felt like an important decision, you know. Yeah. One that I'm still figuring it out, and that lesson is still ongoing in other situations that I'm in as well, where I'm really conscious of how I enter a room before I even start speaking with people, you know, just kind of stripping away like what I want to get from something. Yeah. And just trying to go in with no agenda. And that is a process.
Of course.
And it has to be exercised, you know.
To strengthen that. Yeah. I totally know what you mean. Wow. It's deep because we're like programmed to go into something with like, like I'm going into this to get something from this. Like that's kind of like what society, school teaches
even
you.
just to get my unique experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and I'm like, oh no, this is a community. This isn't a zoo. This isn't a interesting experience. This is a community living its life with history. And so it was really important for me to just go right back to the drawing board and be like, no opinions, no expectations.
Yeah.
And learn how to just be with people.
Amazing.
And see where that goes, you know? But it's very like shooting blind, you know, when you don't have a clear idea of what you're doing.
But it's kind of good.
Yeah.
Because that's when like the magic happens.
It's kind of how I like that approach. I feel like, like I said, you know, that experience just helped me figure out what my own life methodology is. It's just very much trying to strip everything back so that there's spaciousness, as much spaciousness as possible, to see what's in between all the noise.
Yeah. That's very deep. Yeah. I know what you're saying. I feel like that's what we're here to do, though, is to like strip back all the layers, you know what I mean? And like kind of get to I love how you said before, like you want to be like a child, like again. And like that's what I'm learning through my journey. A lot of people that I talk to, that's similar, where it's just like you're trying to get back to that. And it's so intense because it's just like that, like child is that's that play energy, that innocence, that just wanting to like learn and so present, because children are so present. They're like so in the moment with everything, and there's no like agenda or something like this internal dialogue going through. It's just all like, I don't know like the words to explain it. I was on the plane coming here, not here, but coming back from Brisbane yesterday, and I had this little kid next to me, Jeremiah. Shout out to Jeremiah, a little 2-year-old, little like Tongan boy. He was so cute, and I was like, man, I hope I'm sitting next to someone cool on the plane. Like, you know what I mean? And I was sitting next to him, and like I just instantly got so much joy. Like as soon as like I sat down, and he's just looking up at me with his big eyes, and he just started like poking at me, and like playing with my hands. He was just so curious, and we're just on a plane. Like everyone on the plane just sitting, masks on, like, you know, let me get to my next destination. And I'm here with this little child who's having like, he's on a plane, but he's not. He's in like some imaginary land, having the time of his life with this like random stranger next to him, like poking at him, and like we're laughing together and stuff. He kept trying to take the mask off my face. I was having so much fun with it, and I'm just like, man, like that plane ride was like one of the greatest plane rides I've ever had. But that's because I was like, he brought out the inner child in me, and it was just something so amazing. But yeah, when you're saying, I say that to say when you're talking about being a child again, when you're in the community, I think that's so important. I think that's something that we all need to like carry with us, is that mindset. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what we are. We're just grown up children at the end of the day, pretending to be adults. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put on these fronts. But yeah. Sorry, I went on a little trip there.
It's alright.
But yeah, so back to Central Australia. So you were there for how long?
I was there on and off for like 2.5 years.
Okay.
And I wasn't there that long in one block.
Yeah.
But I did blocks of like 6 to 8 weeks or 3 months or that kind of thing, where I would go out and come back with some artists here who were exhibiting here, and then make sure that all went well and smoothly, and then go back to the community or come back for one of my own projects. But I was very much feeling like my life was becoming more and more intertwined, and it was my feeling that I would be out there for at least 5 more years. I felt, but I got the offer to come back and work at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, which is where I work now, and it just felt like I had to make a really quick decision, and like a couple of days I had. So I knew that working for an institution and a respected space that the Art Gallery is, in that way, it was just a platform for impact in a way that I've hadn't had before. So it felt like I'd be missing an opportunity to not come back. So it was such a kind of, what's it called when you, like, it's just a sliding door. Yeah, it was like, if I go down this path or this path, and advocacy, like the role is advocacy. So I think after spending a lot of time out in Central Australia and just seeing what happens out there and how much amplification of their voices is needed, I just felt like my journey needed to kind of have a bigger platform. And I didn't have any expectation going into it, but it just felt like the right thing to do. But yeah, it's funny, as soon as I'd made that choice and then, you know, reintegrating back into Sydney as well, I kind of had to confront that feeling in myself of being a certain kind of person. Like, you know, I think we really are very much influenced by our environment. Like the whole nature nurture thing, like we become, or it's herd mentality, it's the kind of people you hang out with, or and for me, I'd really been able to let go of a lot of things I felt were weighting me in a way about our culture and about our society, like vanity, for instance. Just letting all of those things go when I was out in the desert, because it actually didn't matter, like being that human out there, like being a Sydney girl out there, didn't fit. Yeah. You know? And it was great to sort of experience myself, my kind of innate self, the self that is eternal, in a different environment, and seeing how it manifested out there. And I really liked that version of myself a lot. And I hadn't really felt that way before, you know, like when you really like yourself. Yeah.
Would you say like or love?
I mean, look, we can say love. I don't use love too much. Okay. Like, it isn't a really important word to me. But I think that's probably why I don't use it. Yeah. Overly.
I see what you're saying, yeah, because it's like a sacred word. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, and maybe too as well, like, it was still in infancy. I was still getting to know myself in that space. So the falling in love, like the love thing, I just, we can say that. But it was more like, it was more innocent than that. It was kind of from across the room. It was like, yeah, I really like you. Yeah, you know?
I see what you're saying.
I like this flavour. I like this. Yeah. I like where this could go. I like where this is going. I like where this is shaping. And then being back in Sydney in a completely different kind of environment, and the fast-pacedness of the city as well, and having to sort of re-establish here. And it felt like the desert was really far away, and it happened really quickly. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a dream when you're dreaming, and it's so vivid, and so the accuracy of the dream as you're having it, and when you wake it up and it's still there, like it's there and it's so clear, and within a second it's faded into a space where you can't even recall most of it anymore. Yeah. It's that similar feeling as like a knowing that it was real and that it happened, but that you can't...
That dream essence, yeah.
Yeah, you can't access it anymore, you know? There's no access point to it. So that's kind of how I felt about my relationship to myself after coming back, just feeling like, wow, that version of myself is far away now, you know? And it was so reliant on the space too. It was reliant on the earth under my feet. It was reliant on the sky every night. It was reliant on the people in the community who made me feel a certain way, who allowed me to be with them in a certain way as well. So without that as the cue anymore, it was like, it became quickly a memory, but a memory that is, kind of a bit like a candle in the dark, you know, like I know that I learnt something really important living out there, that it was a gift and that it fuels my ambition in a way for finding purpose and being part of a purposeful life wherever I am, you know. So, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Did you write much there? Like, is it like anything that you can go back to like spark that candle? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I did end up taking some photos while I was out there, but with one of the artists that I was working with, I took some portraits of her after we developed a closeness, and we did it as a kind of a project together that didn't have an agenda. It was just something that we did, kind of like sisters, you know. It was just something that we did together for each other and with each other. And I did a little bit of writing, but I found it hard to create in the same way as I was, because my whole understanding of what it means to make things really shifted, and it just didn't feel like, even like the English language just didn't feel like it could paint the kind of the picture of what I was feeling. Yeah. You know? So I did write a little bit, but so I do have some things, and I still have relationships. It's not like, I very much consider the community, the Mutijulu community, and a lot of the women that I work with particularly, and their family and their kids too. So I feel like they're my family as well. So I carry them with me like they're my family. So
beautiful.
Yeah, it's inside me, I think, more than anything.
So you can always, so you know how you're saying the environment plays a huge part, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like being in like this environment, say Sydney, like hinders that now? Do you know what I mean? Like tapping into that again because of the environment. Is that accurate, would you say?
Yeah, I think because the environment is so different. Yeah. It's, you don't have the same access points to go in or enter into a way of being, because it is different, you know.
100%.
And I have to say too, like with a lot of the artists that I travelled with, they would change when we come to the city as well. Like they were here for city things.
Yeah. So you're gonna put on the city hat.
So we all change depending on where we are.
No, I definitely understand that. I've noticed that a lot through traveling, through just life in general, and even like people, because like environment isn't just like the physical environment. Like you said, it's the people as well that you're around. Because that's a heavy influence. Like energy's contagious.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And you sometimes can't even catch it sometimes if you're in it for so long, and you're like, oh whoa, like is that even my thoughts? you know what I mean? Or it's just like the group think that now has become my thoughts, and it's just like it's something that I'm learning. Do you know what I mean? To like kind of like snap out of sometimes. That's why I think it's so important to travel and to just like put yourself in, like you said, like spontaneous situations. I think that's very, it's something that we all should be doing. And I think now, everyone's traveling. I got a lot of friends that are traveling and stuff, and it's just like, even when they come back, I'm like, whoa, like I can, like, even though they come back and they're like in the city mode and stuff, but you can see there's a bit of a switch or something, you know?
Yeah. That there is a whole world out there. Literally. As well. I mean, if we could all travel more, that would be ideal.
Could you imagine?
It's such a shame that can only be a certain, like, you know, like if there's different things that prevent people from traveling. Of course. And like even just having I've got a Dutch passport and an Australian passport, so that kind of gives me access to a lot of the world. Yeah. Money to buy a ticket. Yeah. what you're going to do when you get there. How many people do you know that are going to open doors for you?
True.
Or are you just a holidayer?
Yeah.
You know, are
you just going to like party, or you going to enrich yourself in the culture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a passive traveller? Are you have you got an active kind of approach to it?
That's deep. I know what you're saying. Like, as in like an intention. Like, are you going with an intention to... Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah.
And I actually lived in Indonesia when I was little, just for a little while. My parents were working there, and we stayed with family friends who are Indonesian. Yeah. And while they travelled, so we were away from them, and we went to school there. It was in just outside of Yogyakarta. We lived quite traditionally, and and it was still like during the Suharto regime.
Yeah. What's the Suharto regime?
So this was, is it Prime Minister or President of Indonesia?
I wouldn't know. I've forgotten. Probably Prime Minister. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. Yeah.
So yeah, the leader, the head of state.
Yeah. yeah, the head of state. Yeah.
And it was a really kind of intense political period. There was a lot of like, I guess what's considered war crimes that were going on during that time. But I remember it being, because I think I was only like 9 or however old I was. It was so in the background, like you'd hear things on the news, and you'd hear adults talking about the politics. You could kind of feel the tension, the political tension
in the air. Yeah.
In the air. And we had to pray every morning to Suharto at school, and I just had I was like, I don't even know who this person is.
Yeah.
Being so young, and I think with youth as well, there's kind of like there's an adult world that just doesn't make any sense. It's like, why do I need to, whether it's a prime minister or a president or a god even, it's like
that questioning. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're a kid, depending on how free your mind has been allowed to be as a child.
True.
A lot of the adult world doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, facts. Still to this day, for me, I'm like, right, I'm still trying to make it make sense, because it doesn't. It's very, I don't know. I feel like, for me, I just see everything in reverse. You know how you're talking about when you went to Central Australia and you did everything reverse?
Yeah.
That's what I see. A lot of this world is just like in reverse. It's all like inverted. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, maybe that's why there's so much like resistance, because we're not like in flow, in tune. But yeah, we can get into that if you want. But I was gonna get into like other places you've traveled.
Well, I think it occurred to me, I was lucky that I got to travel a lot growing up, because my parents traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And it was always like, like on the cheap, like they're both artists, but that's what they had the opportunity to travel as artists, and they couldn't leave us. So we went with them everywhere. So I probably spent a third of my education with them rather than in school.
Yeah.
But, and we'd traveled quite a bit, but nowhere non-Western. So Indonesia was like a real learning curve. Because I realised, like, growing up in Sydney as the daughter of 2 artists, and an awareness that we were poor. But when I was in Indonesia, I was like, oh my God, I've never seen poverty in that way, and through the lens of a child as well. And back to the nonsensical feeling of the adult world, it never left me, that feeling of it being so arbitrary. Why was my best friend in this new place living in the way that they were? There was no reason, like that. She wasn't any she wasn't of any less value than me as a human.
Yeah,
and I couldn't make it make sense, because it was kind of like all I could see on paper was that I had $10 and she had nothing, and that my $10 converted to
all this, yeah.
you know, like, and then seeing how she lived, and not just her but others as well, just seeing how other kids were living as well just really stuck with me. So coming back, I think that was the first like moment in my life where I thought, like, I don't want to just be a Westerner traveling in another country, lying on a beach in a resort. Like, I was kind of able to think about that because I had that experience then. I was it was very clear to me that I would never be a holidayer. I would never be someone who went on holidays. I'd always needed to have some kind of purposeful reason to travel.
Yeah.
And that's not to say like a job or anything like that, but just understanding that you're not going away on a holiday. You're going to another place that has a reality, that has people living there, that has histories and cultures and experiences that live on after you leave. And, you know, so
I know what you're saying. It's got its own ecosystem.
Yeah.
You've got to like, I feel that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know. It's funny how like childhood experiences can have such profound
of course.
Effects on how you end up, how your style of living can be affected by that into adulthood.
They say that this first 7 years is like when like it shapes your whole subconscious.
Yeah.
So then from like then onwards, you're projecting your whole reality from all those moments.
Yeah.
So it's real, like, it's real deep. So if you were traveling, how old were you when you were in Indonesia? Sorry.
I would have been older than 7.
Older
I
than
think.
7?
I don't know when did the Spice Girls come out?
I love that. That's where you.
It was literally that. It
that's
was
dope.
Stop right now. Stop right now.
Yeah. I know that song. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like the Spice Girls?
Oh, look, I did then.
Yeah.
But I think I don't listen to them now. But I was into the girl power thing at the time.
Of course.
You know, just having, and I know that was marketed really well to, you know, get us all hooked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it kind of like did help in the playground after that happened. It was kind of like motivation to kind of be like girl power when the boys were getting a bit too
aggy.
Yeah.
Facts. I think girl power is like has always been there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, and I love this. Have you seen the Woman King trailer? Oh my god.
No.
You need to watch it. It's amazing.
A film?
It's a film. It's a trailer with Viola Davis.
Yeah, cool. I really like her.
And it's about like I'm not 100% sure if it's about the Ashanti tribe, like with the colonizers coming, but it's about like this woman army that helped like fight off the colonizers.
Wow.
And that trailer is so intense.
Wow.
It gave me such goosebumps.
It's coming out soon?
Yeah, it's coming out very soon. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
I'm definitely going to be going to see that.
It was so intense. It was such a... You know the trailers when you're getting goosebumps, you're like, wow, okay, there's something... Yeah, it's such a power. She definitely embodied that warrior.
You just don't hear about those kinds of stories.
And that's what I love, that it's coming to the surface. Do you know what I mean? Because you get the, you know... But like the whole Woman King, like, it's just like... Yeah, I showed my sister and she's just like, as like, you know, young black girl as well, she's seeing that like, wow, like it's just something that I think is really important. And then like, I can't wait to be seeing that on buses and stuff. And it's just like...
But just back to the girl power thing.
Yeah.
What that like brings up for me too is just like, was that just another reason to be divided? Like, you know, like just thinking about it now, I was like, well... Why do we need to fight even, like, to feel like, you know, empowered as a young woman growing up? Great, I'm all for that, but I don't know, like now I'm thinking about it, it kind of feels a little bit sinister, you know, a little bit insidious, like another reason to be divided and fighting. Yeah.
Some divide and conquer
like
type
us
shit.
And them and boys versus girls and all that.
That's a good point. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, that's what, like, if we want to get into it, like, a lot of, like, agendas, per se, is about, like, kind of creating that divide and conquer, but without people, because it kind of uses I want to put this really well before I say it, but like it kind of uses that whole, because like, for example, in the girl power movement, like women want to feel empowered as a girl. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm strong, you know, I can take whatever the shit the boys is giving me, you know what I mean? So like when that's pushed, like a lot of like girls will gravitate towards that because they're feeling that already in them, if that makes sense. So it's just like, I don't know how to put this, man, without like, I don't know where I can go with it. But it's just like, because it's marketing, not marketing, but it's how they prey on that little thing that's a beautiful thing, but they kind of like distort it and like warp it to create some little agenda. I didn't say that but I know you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I hope you listeners know what I'm talking about too.
Yeah. But wow, that was really interesting.
I was saying to a friend the other day, or like just someone that I've been speaking to recently about some advocacy stuff, and we were talking about things in a similar vein.
Yeah.
And I was I was relaying how important I feel men are innately to me at the moment, just really thinking about how my own form of feminism, my personal form of identifying with feminism, actually really connects with my relationship with men, and how important I feel and want them to be with me, not on the other side or someone sitting in an audience, or like just really feeling like with me. And that kind of just made me really think about as well, like, you know, always trying to like find who the problem is, or
point the finger.
Who's at fault, and I think, like, I wonder with, you know, all the kinds of discussions that have been more and more able to be had over the last few years, just around identity and parity issues. Sometimes I just feel like there's just a lack of consideration there, that, you know, men are the problem, and it's like, actually no, like I feel that very much so, if we're even speaking in binaries at the moment, men versus women or whatever, that it's such an important part in the piece. The piece, like PIESE and PEA.
Oh, I love that.
SE.
I see what you're saying, like piece of the puzzle and like harmony piece.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, just as an example, I mean, you know, like, probably don't know if I explained that really well, but just more generally speaking, just how many opportunities we have where we can just stop and be like, no, this is another us and them situation. This is another situation where we're creating an opposition and some kind of the structure for the dialogue is combative, not inclusive, and yet the goal is to be inclusive. Like, everyone's talking about inclusivity and diversity and oneness and all of that, unity, when it's unity. But like, will we ever get there if we don't realize that the way we're having those conversations, maybe it's like, feels like war, you know? Doesn't feel like peace, it feels like war.
I agree. I think like it's like this theme throughout like all civilizations, where it's just like there has to be like that, is it duality or polarity or whatever it is, where it's going to be like one side or another side, but like there can never be, like you said, like that peace or that harmony if we're looking at it from there's always two sides. Do you know what I mean? And then when you said man, I'm on one tonight. Combativeness. Is that how I pronounce that word?
I think so,
it's like I haven't used that word in a while. The combativeness, it's like that takes away from being like open enough to hear the other side of like what they're trying to say. Because if you have that combative nature or whatever, that front up, then you can't even see or feel what is trying to be translated. So it can never be there can never be that union, because it's like a constant blockage there. You know what I mean? For me, like, I don't know. We can go deep. I don't know. Like this is what the Midnight Moon podcast is all about, going deep and stuff. But I just don't want to like ruffle too many feathers.
Flow.
I don't want to ruffle too many feathers. Do you know what I mean? But that's all part of it.
No, I don't want to ruffle feathers either. And I just think I know less than I've ever felt I know now. Yeah. Like it's kind of the wiser I feel that I am able to be, the less that I know, and the more kind of, and I actually do feel quite confused, and to be clear and articulate is hard, and that not having that kind of really strong foundation or that feeling of knowing can be really scary. But at the same time, you know, we have to be able to have kind of these kinds of conversations, I 100%. Suppose, where you're not like censoring.
Exactly.
And you might say something wrong, or even just what you say isn't really how you wanted to say it. But yeah, in a world...
You have to say it.
Yeah. I think our world now too, like when you think of the media and you think of how businesses operate and you think of how everyone's a product on their Instagram feed, like the way that we're engaging, like it is very scripted. You can like perfect your little piece of content or your press release, and that's what goes out into the world. But having these kinds of more like long form conversations that you know are going to be, you know it's going to be on the internet, and you know that like little bits can be grabbed and misunderstood, but
of course
and even if this wasn't going to be on the internet, even this was, or the radio, even if it was just you and I talking, like just having the courage to speak openly is already a step in the right direction, you know?
You're right. And it like shows the humanity, like, do you know what I mean? That human side, do you know what I mean? Like that imperfection, which is perfection, I feel like. You know what I mean? Because like you said, when you cut things, you make it like the clean version comes out and everyone sees that clean, pristine. And then now everyone's thinking, okay, that's what we all got to do. But it's like little things like these conversations is like a window into like, wait a second, we're all, and it brings that oneness as well, that like we all have this. Do you know what I mean? We all have our little imperfections or whatever you want to call them. We're not like, but that's what brings us together, is that, do you know what I mean? Is seeing that in someone else. You know what I mean? Like I love watching a podcast, and then like I do this like thing where I go like, I don't know if you've noticed, like when you say something deep, I'm like, you know what I mean? I always do that. I don't know why. It's just this thing. And then like people point it out. But I love when I watch a podcast and I see someone else, like a host, do that. And I'm like, oh, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a human thing. Like,
it is a human thing.
You know, it doesn't have to be like some perfect, nice, rehearsed, well polished.
Yeah.
There can be ums and ums and all that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then, that's what brings us together. Like, that's what unites us, is that. Do you know what I mean? Those little things, those nuances that make us human, which is these.
Yeah. And there's so many things that go on inside too. And the inner world is not a place that sounds and looks like the exterior world. You know, the inner world has many faces and many... like trying to explain the inside world and to give it to the outside world, you lose a lot.
Of course.
You know? So when you have an unscripted conversation that doesn't have a clear pathway, anything could come up.
Of course.
So I guess the choice is, do you kind of answer safely, or do you just allow yourself to
just go?
To just go.
Yeah. That's what I'm learning a lot. You have to just go. But it's just that like constant like training of like that we've had. I don't want to say but like a lot of us, of that, just like think before you speak. Do you know what I mean? Like in class, like I don't know if you ever had that. Like, you know, think before you say something. Do you know what I mean? Like, because words hold power, which they do, but they hold power if you give it power, if you give it meaning. Do you know what I mean? Like, what you say to me can only affect me if I allow it to. Do you know what I mean? If I agree with those words or whatever you say. Do you know what I mean? That's what gives it power, not like you saying them.
Yeah, I wonder what they did mean by that. I mean, I can see the value in that as well. Isn't there like a Zen saying, those who know do not speak?
Yeah.
But that's often all we've got. You know?
Yeah, you're right.
And I'm an imperfect human too. I'm no like, you know, Buddha, Jesus. I'm not one of those humans. I'm definitely just your average, ordinary sinner who's just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And like one of the only ways that we can connect is to kind of have the guts to say how you're feeling or being wrong.
Yeah. And what is wrong? Like, if we want to go there, do you know what I mean? Like, is wrong do you know what I mean? But like, is it wrong because it bothers someone else, or is it wrong? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the compass for wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And what makes something correct as well? It's like correct definition, or who's the arbiter of knowledge?
Oh, wow, that's nice. Yeah, who's the arbiter of knowledge? Wow. Yeah.
I would say I'm wrong a lot, but I'm okay with that.
Do you feel like you're okay with that because you're not attached to it?
I'm okay with it because it's realistic. And I think maybe if we all could appreciate that a little bit more in ourselves, you know, not to be righteous, then we could progress a little bit more smoothly.
Yeah.
And certainly with a lot less trauma as well, a lot less gripping rigidity around like having to be right, or I think it's kind of impossible to be completely right.
Facts.
These days anyway, because we're learning more and more that there are so many different perspectives as well. So how do you capitalize the word truth? Like, what is the truth? Whose truth are we talking about? So yeah, like I think that's where like having not a good relationship with yourself, but you know, like an intentional relationship with yourself.
Okay.
An honest relationship with yourself throughout your life helps with that. Helps with just navigating that. Swimming in the ocean of information.
I like that. Yeah. I didn't expect this, to be honest. I don't know, we go like this, like this deep. Not because of you. I was just like, oh, I thought we'd be in the art gallery world, like, you know, talking art and stuff, and then we just like, do you know what I mean? But I love this conversation.
Well, look, this is like why I don't, you know, I haven't done a podcast before. And I'm not like someone with business ready to go to promote. Yeah. And like, I do work in the art world, but I found myself there just serendipitously, you know. I didn't find myself there because my career was traveling in that direction, and I applied and got the job. I really found myself there almost by chance, and with a deep respect for the situation, for the fact that probably not that many people in my situation, certainly like with no credentials, would or recognised credentials anyway, would end up in a situation like that. But that for some reason, you know, the universe gave me the opportunity, and my role there is to bring people together and really shape a meaningful collective understanding around what it means to be part of a community and build a community, and what impact that community can have. It's just, for me, it's a hopeful situation, because if it means that we can do it in that situation, we can do it in other situations where we can have different even have different backgrounds and perspectives and different politics completely, but bringing people together around support for the arts, I think, is a great place to start, because art can be the key to the door into so much more potential than one person can understand in their lifetime, and that can be experienced by many others, and that they can see themselves in those situations as well. And art has an amazing way of opening up our understanding of each other and ourselves. So and beyond language and
transcends words,
it's that's what is so special about art.
I love being around like artists, art, like anything like with like art, because it's like everything is so like flowy, if that's the word. And I always say this to Mum, I'm like, because like art and heart, we'll go back to our etymology. Do you know what I mean? There's that connection there. And it's just like art comes from the heart. Do you know what I mean? So like a lot of times that you're in art spaces, they're heart spaces. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like when you're in heart spaces, there's so much room for like healing. Do you know what I mean? Because it's all from here. And it's just like, I was like, this lady told me like, well, she was like kind of like guiding me through like a plant medicine. And anyway, it was like, she was saying like to like get out of here, like the mind so much, and kind of move from the heart more, and you like feel, what's the word? Like it's more like you feel through life.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking through life. I'm a huge thinker. Like we were talking about star signs earlier, like Aquariuses, they think a lot. That's their whole thing. Air sign, so a lot of thinking. But when we're moving from the heart, it brings that unity that we were talking about earlier, because that's something that we all have that heartbeat, you know.
Yeah.
That's the first
cell
manifestation of tissue is a heart,
I know, right?
It's
when I learnt that, I just
blew my mind. I'm like, bro.
I could feel my heart too.
Have you ever talked to your heart?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do kind of a lot, but in a structured way. You're talking about like a just particular like, practice?
It was kind of an open question, but yeah, it could be a practice. Sometimes, like I've had moments where like it's just kind of spoken to me. Like, you know, when you're falling asleep, you're half in, half out. And it's just like, it's not language, it's feeling. Do you know what I mean? But it's just such like, it's just so like, you're like, wow. Like, it just opens reality so much. You're like, whoa, there is so much more to this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm speaking to like an intelligence of myself. Yeah.
There's a thing called heart maths, which is something I don't know a lot about, but it was someone was telling me about how you can sort of regulate your body.
Yeah.
By breathing with your heart in mind. And there's a whole sort of practice attached to this. It's called heart maths. So if anyone wants to look that up, they can do their own research. Maths. But yeah, there's a way of where you can really, rather than being kind of at the mercy of your emotions and your feelings, you can kind of help to regulate yourself by practicing in a really mindful way using breath. And that the studies that have been done on that like show how much in relationship to our heart we actually are as well. And when you're having a conscious relationship with your heart, you can actually self-regulate a lot more effectively.
Yeah.
And it's different to when you're thinking, like when you're not, like when you're the rate of your heart changes when you're actually conscious of your heart as you're breathing. So
wow, yeah, I see what you mean.
Anyway, I'm sure you'll look into
heart
it.
Math. Yeah, that's amazing. I will definitely look into that. My friend, he's like a neuroscientist. He's got this thing called the precognition technique or something like that. But like, yeah, it's like this like course. I haven't done it, but he's told me about it. About like, yeah, kind of like tuning, similar to the heart maths, tuning into your heart. And then he was saying that the heart perceives reality before, like that's the whole precognition. Is, I don't want to butcher it, Koshik, but it's like the heart perceives like reality before it happens. So if you can tap into it and move with it, then you're in flow with everything. Koshik, shout out to Koshik.
Well, you know how you asked me about like speeches before. I mean, I only speak publicly at these events, so that's probably 6 or 7 times a year. Let's say. I wish I could be more like that, just daily, because in those moments I'm so conscious of how important the message is translated, and like the heart feels so much part of it. Like in my mind I'm like, it has to be through, it has to, whatever I'm going to say has to come through the heart. I don't know what it's going to be, but in the moment I'm like, I know that I can trust that that space will take care of not only me, but everyone in my presence. That if I can tap into that space, it's got my back and it's got everyone else's back too. You know, so it doesn't really matter what I say, as long as I'm going through that channel, it's all going to be okay, and the message will come through because it will be the right one. It will be distilled, you know. But I wish I could be like that
all the time.
Not all the time, because I'm like, that's a big ask.
It's huge.
But like, so to speak, like I kind of wish that I could have that kind of practice in more ordinary life, just day-to-day life, and be less anxious and less just kind of use the power of whatever is going on in that magic to somehow make that a daily practice in some way, in the way that you speak to others, just you know,
I agree.
Housemates, parents, lovers, like whatever, like just being much more mindful that like that heart practice can come into play. It doesn't have to be when you're speaking in front of 200 people. You know what I mean?
7 times a year. Imagine if they taught that in school.
But you know, imagine if our politicians did that too.
Oh, wow.
Like they get to speak in front of a lot of people all the time. Like I wonder if they're thinking like, are they thinking, okay, it's got to be all about the heart. It's got to be about the heart. I'm about to go on. I'm gonna just like, we're gonna get the message, and it's gonna go straight through the heart.
If I live in a society and that happens, oh my God, I'll be so happy if that happens. Because I honestly, I'm gonna be real, I do not think that happens. I don't even think that crosses their mind.
I don't even like sometimes. I mean, do they even know they have hearts?
Great question. I think because they haven't tapped into it for so long, it's like that connection's not there. Do you know what I mean? Like they still got a heart, but it's like there's like all this like calcification. Do you know what I mean? So like the neural pathways aren't.
But to even get there as well, like to even get there is like that the personality type and the kind of drive that you have to not be chewed up by that whole situation. Like to even get into a position of leadership and enter into politics. Is it really the heartful people who travel down those roads, or is it the heartful people end up in early childcare or nursing, or you know, it's like, where are the heartful people ending up? I don't know if they're ending up in politics.
And should they be ending up in politics or leadership positions? Because wouldn't we like, I know I would like leaders that are leading from the heart. Because that would just shift everything.
Just the way that we design society, the infrastructure of society, to be designed for human beings to live in.
Yes, a conducive society. Yeah.
Like, what would hospitals look like? What would schools look like?
I've had these thoughts of like, you know, how hospitals are so like clinical. And they're so like the lights are really like weird, like, and it's just like, it's like a lab. It doesn't even look like a hospital. Like, it's like a laboratory in like school. And I'm like, why is there not enough like nature in there, like flowers and stuff, and the food's like always bland and like
the
dead.
food, let's like, if just, you may as well not heal anyone if you're going to serve up that food.
Dead food, like food with no life in it. Like, come on, like we should have like nice bowls of like mangoes, dragon fruit, like, you know, exotic tropical fruits. You've been to Indonesia, obviously, so you've had like,
it's like fruit platters, huh?
How good are like, but how much of a difference, let's be honest, like when you
but
eat.
Nourishing, we're being told now with all the studies and podcasts and articles and all of that around health
is number one.
Was it Hippocrates? Hippocrates?
Socrates?
No.
Oh, no,
wait, no. How do you pronounce it? Is it Hippocrates?
Hippocrates.
Hippocrates.
Yeah. Hippocrates. Okay. I've seen quotes of this person. Yeah.
He's
Greek, right?
All disease begins in the gut.
Oh, yes.
Like that one?
Yeah.
And then like you are what you eat, and everything that we know about nutrition now as well, like the integrity of our food is so important.
Is everything.
So like, why is it that
we're still serving white bread?
Yeah.
In hospitals to
like,
heal people.
The snacks.
Yeah.
Ain't not gonna make anyone feel good.
The snacks and cheese. Yeah.
Just like hospitals, I find, and I'm sure not all hospitals, but all the hospitals that I've been to, and like I've been cared for and helped and whatever, so I'm not I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but I've always felt like anxious and scared in those environments, and the smell and the
energy in the place. Yeah,
I haven't felt that. To me, they're not places of healing.
100%. Don't get me wrong, I love the doctors that do so much great work and the nurses, but you're right, like it's the like back to environment. The environment isn't like conducive for healing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no like windows to even see nature, let alone like having, because we all know about nature therapy now, like you're saying with the food, how nature heals and stuff. Like there should be like a nice place in the middle of the hospital where everyone has to walk barefoot. Do you know what I mean? Like you, like at least like 30 minutes a day. You gotta walk back, or you gotta eat your food in this like spot.
You just hear about all these like rogue doctors or rogue practitioners who start their own thing.
Yeah.
And like that, if you can get a spot in that place, that's when you're gonna, you know, like health can be addressed. But good luck getting a spot on the list.
And you know,
exactly,
you have a certain type of
and the independence, I guess, to go and do something like that in your own way, and to have the freedom to do something. But it's so small scale. It's not something that is rolled out to the general population. Yeah. You know? So, I don't know. I don't want to end up sick in a hospital.
No, 100%. Hell nah. I've been in hospitals and like been, it's like, and it's just like surgeries and like recovery, and I'm like getting out was like, I'm grateful for all the healing that happened in there, but like getting out, a lot of healing happened after too. Do you know what I mean? And they need, like, I'll put my hand up to design hospitals. I'm not an architect, but I'll help. I've got great ideas. Do you know what I mean? I think there should be like a sun, like a spot where like
they are not gonna have you. I'm telling you right now. You come in and you're like, there should be a strip in the middle where everyone has to walk barefoot.
Take off your shoes.
They're not gonna have you unless
we got our politicians that are leading from the heart. Then they might have me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe we just gotta go rogue ourselves.
Facts.
You know?
Facts.
Might just have to be the way.
And that's possible too. You've seen all these like communities that are starting their own like little like mini tribes and stuff in like what is it, like the Central America and stuff. Like people just creating their own little communities and tribes of like-minded people living off the land, like all that. It's just like, it's a beautiful thing. Like it's happening. Like people are, it's all there now. Do you know what I mean? It's just in that moment, in that place of just like that growing you know, that like kind of awkward like growing phase when you're like growing up and you're in that like awkward phase of like you're not sprouting but you're halfway there, like that type of, I feel like that's where we're at, like society at the moment.
Yeah. Do you watch Alone?
No, what's that?
It's a TV show where a group of people as individuals have to survive for the longest in...
Oh, is it on SBS or something?
I think it's on Foxtel, but it's I don't know who produced it, but it's become quite popular and I've started watching it. And the kinds of people, like, I've only watched one season, but there's a prize at the end, obviously, for the last person standing. But that aside, it's not a Survivor show. It's not like...
It's the original. It's like, this is the real Survivor.
It's like they get to take 10 things from a list of things that they're allowed to take. So, like, one tarp.
Wow.
An axe. X amount of string, twine.
Damn.
You know, like, it's very restrictive. A pot. They can't, like, they've got to hunt and source their own food, make their own shelter, find their own water, and they're in, like, remote wilderness, and whoever survives the longest wins, right?
Wow.
But the kinds of people that I've noticed from the one season that I've watched, they're all really humble people. They're all really, like, they all have none of them are going in cold. They've all got, in their own lives, they've followed and pursued, you know, how and what you need to do to survive in the wilderness. It's part of their own chosen lifestyle, so they're not coming to it inexperienced. But the kind of challenge that it is in that situation as well, like, you can't, and they can't bring any food in, so they're really surviving. It's day to day, and they've got to hunt with a bow and arrow. You know, like, imagine if you had to do that.
I ain't gonna survive that long. I'm gonna be honest with myself. No way. And nature humbles you.
Yeah.
Nature humbles the fuck out of you. You're like, oh, okay, this is what it is.
I know, right?
Like,
I like watching this show because it's like, I don't know, it just, the kinds of people that it attracts, and they're really thinking about what it means to eat another being, and that sustenance and that life-giving sustenance that it is, and the effort that is exerted, and then, like, I was really sort of thinking about, you know, Indigenous cultures too, how the mentality towards Indigenous cultures is primitive and, like, surviving. Like, no, they were thriving. Like, they had systems. They weren't just, like, you know, kind of, just the perception that we have as though it's lesser and uncivilized and less knowledgeable. And I'm just thinking, like, how would I even begin to know how to make a fishing pole myself with a knife?
I see what you're saying.
Let alone catching a fish, like, let alone actually catching
and killing it too, like,
like, let alone actually being successful in the hunt. But, like, first make your own equipment. And I'm just thinking, like, that is actually advanced. Yeah,
it's very advanced. To be honest,
that skill set is advanced.
Throw society right now into, like, times without, you know, having all the tools and technology that we have. I think literally, like, nearly 80% of us would just perish after a while, because we wouldn't be able to survive because we don't have those skills. Well, I like how you said thrive though. Sorry to cut you off. Thrive instead of survive.
Because survive, like, suggests that it's, like, hard and, you know, like, you're not doing well. Yep. You're just getting by. You're just scraping by and, like, any day dead now kind of thing, you know? Dying young, missing teeth, like that picture in my mind of, like, how particularly Indigenous cultures have been described.
Yeah, depicted. I feel you.
And it's like, no, actually, like, they had, like, they could make their own spear and then throw it the length of a football field to catch kangaroo. You know, like, you know, like, that's just, like, simple. I'm describing it. My understanding of it is very simple too. But, like, that blows me away. Like, that can somehow be discounted and reduced. It means so much to have respect for that, you know? Yeah.
That's deep.
And I don't think, like, when I think of my skill set, I'm like, what skill set? You know? Like,
wow. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Like, when we're breaking down skill set, I see what you're saying. Now you're making me rethink my skill sets. Yeah. It's true. I was building like a hut, like it's not an amazing hut, but shout out to my hut on a beach, right? Just out of pure curiosity and like inner child playfulness, right? And I built it out of all these sticks. So every time I go down each year down to like the coast, I'll build a new one.
Yeah.
I'm building them out of sticks, and I'm not like, there's nothing going. It's just having fun, playing music, enjoying myself making it. But it takes me like 2 weeks. It takes me 2 weeks, and the last. Do you
always build at the same place?
So yeah, same place. So I got 3 now.
Yeah.
I'll show you them after. And the last one I did, I actually built a roof.
Wow.
But it's not like a roof, like there's holes in it and stuff. And it really made me respect like and look at like indigenous cultures across the world and be like, these people were so genius.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like how like, and it made me, and it humbled me. Like I said, nature humbles you, because I'm like, I have so like, I can go home after this. I go to the beach house, have a nice hot shower. Do you know what I mean? Eat the food that's been cooked, and like, and then go back to it the next day. But like, they're depending on building that shelter to eat in it, to hunt in it, to like, do you know what I mean? Live in it. And I'm out here, I can leave after and then come back and start working on it. And it's just like, yeah, it really made me just, it changed my whole perception. And I'm like, wow. Like, yeah, it just gave me like a deep reverence for like just indigenous cultures across the world. Because like, you look at like the teepees and like, you know, like Mayans and stuff everywhere. It's just like, wow, like how are they doing this? Like,
it's so like so beautiful as well, you know, like even clothes, like prayer beads and like personal objects were handmade or collaboratively made, and each bead had a message and a meaning and a spiritual value and like an effort as well, like an exchange in some way that like was really close. It wasn't a distant thing. Like when I'm in the supermarket now, and it's just like, this feels like such a strange space because I don't know where any of this has come from. I don't know anyone who made any of this. I don't know who had to work hard. I don't have a relationship. There's no relationship here. And I find it unsettling. It just disturbs me to think that how disconnected we are from who are the workers in this world. Who are the makers?
Yeah.
Even just like when like you think of a building.
Yeah.
That a historical building or whatever, and it's like made by such and such. Like, actually, no, it wasn't made by that prince. It was made by
the workers,
like lots and lots and lots of nameless people who actually built it and died building it and had skills that, you know, like
stories,
carving, like before power tools and all of that, you know, just like even now, like building a skyscraper, it's like what's involved in that. But that's kind of like why it kind of scares me a little bit to think of a future world that is automated robots and, you know, like no workers, and just thinking like, will we lose our respect for life? Will we lose our ability to understand what's involved in being alive?
I feel you. I think our whole sensitivity will just like, we'll be desensitized to it. Like I was saying about the supermarket and stuff, like that's already like a bit of like desensitization, if that's a word. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like disconnect. So I could imagine when it becomes like all these autonomons and robots and stuff, it'd just be like, yeah, that I don't want to even think about it, but it's just like, it could be really like detrimental to like humanity. Do you know what I mean? Like that, the essence won't be there, the connection will be gone. And it's just like, I wrote this the other day about like devices make us divided. Do you know what I mean? And even in the word divisive and divided, I'm just like, devices are divisive. You know what I'm saying?
Have you looked that up yet? I
haven't gone to it yet. I wrote it on the plane.
And vice? What about vice? Because vice is like...
Oh, like your vices.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't even peep that. Yeah. Yeah, wow. Fuck. Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I think with the way that we need to be thinking about designing systems does need to involve the human touch as well, because it's like, if we lose that, then where will our humanity go?
Yeah.
And we human beings need to feel like they have purpose.
100%.
Healthy humans need purpose.
Mm.
And without purpose, where will that leave us? Like, what will be the meaning of life anymore without purpose? Even if it is just waitressing at a cafe and being the person that smiles when you get a coffee.
Still purpose, of course.
Like, to kind of reduce that as something meaningless, especially the small moments, the small moments with other human beings. I just wonder, what we're getting ourselves into.
A deep hole. With COVID and like how, like people stopped hugging and like handshaking and stuff, like that was big. Like I think like especially like the elderly, like grandparents and stuff, like not being able to like hug your grandparents. Like I still can't hug my grandma. Because she's like scared and all that. And like fair enough. I don't want to like overstep, but like that is one of the most healing things. A heart to heart fucking hug is one of the most healing things. Especially if it's like a family, do you know what I mean? A family member, like we have the same blood, same lineage. Like that is one of the most healing things that could be done. And it's just like, like that human touch, that connection. If we start losing that, which we already have, it's like we start losing ourselves, really. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's the same like with nature, how we've lost connection with nature. We've been losing connection with ourselves because we don't have that reverence for a tree or like a frog or like when the currawongs make their noises.
Nature needs to be touched too,
because we have a symbiotic relationship with nature. Like we have like our hands and like our feet are like batteries,
sensors.
Like, the nodes on battery. How like you put a battery in like and it's got the little bump one like the plus, and that's like our hands and stuff, like the little nodes for the earth. And it's just like it's where we're going, like the road that we could go, because there's still a chance. Like let's not like
definitely
there's definitely
a
point where it could be like
it's exciting to think like where things will go, but it's feeling like it's going to be pretty dystopian for a while.
I know what you mean,
especially if you like don't have a mate who can like hook you up on like a farm to table little
off-grid
exactly
vibe. Yeah. You're like, shit, I'm gonna be stuck in this. Yeah, it's true.
Fighting for toilet paper. Woolworths. And not being able to hug grandma. Oh my god, like
it's
depressing.
It's so
so depressing.
It's so depressing. It's so sad.
Like, is that like, I ask myself this question as well, not just of the listeners, but is that life worth living if it's like Woolworths, toilet paper fighting, no hugs with grandma, and endless Netflix? I don't know. Like, I'm calling it.
That's a really deep and great question. That's a question that like, it's sad because like everyone knows the answers.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like it's rhetorical, right?
Yeah,
we all know the answer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think it's crazy because I thought like COVID would be the thing that like created that whole, like was the catalyst for like some huge, I don't even want to say awakening because that's become like some thing that everyone, like it's just like.
I reckon it is though, but like awakening. What's another word for it?
Like an awakening, a shift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I thought that would be it.
Like I think awakening because it's been used. It's been used so much, and it's like romanticized and whatever. But romance is good. I think.
True. Yeah.
So that's not such a bad thing. But yeah, but how many levels to the awakening? Because I feel like I've had a couple, and like, I don't know where it's going either. It's like it's almost like you got to wake up into a new dream each time.
Some Inception type shit.
Totally, 100%. Next level of the video game.
Literally, I'm like, bro, this is Inception. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? And then your dreams start getting real vivid, and you're like, was it a dream? You know what I mean? Or was I just tapping into something else? Or was it like prophetic? Or I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, Yeah. I think conversations like this, greater awareness, do you know what I mean? Fearlessness, courage is what's gonna kind of like, if like we were like a capsule, like a ship that was going down this like road that we were talking about, like they're the qualities that will like steer us back. Do you know what I mean? And another one is listening and learning from our First Nations people across the globe. Do you know what I mean? Because there was something there. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you can't see that now, then I'm like, you're lost. See ya. Do you know what I mean? Because there was so much there, and it's just like, if we don't, then we're going down that road, no matter what. That's part of the healing. Do you know what I mean? If we were like one body or one cell, like that was like trauma across the whole world, especially in Australia. So it's like, if we don't put that work in to heal that, then like, yeah, it's see ya. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, bye. But it's but it's not too late. Like, we can salvage it. Do you know what I mean? 100%, it can be done. It can definitely be done.
Yeah, and it will grow. It will evolve. It's messy. It's not
100%.
clean
Healing
cut.
is so
like
messy. 100%. Yeah.
It's not like we figure out, oh yeah, like we need more women in parliament. Snap your fingers. There's so many things.
Cogs in the machine.
There's so many things that it is going to be messy. It's going to get messier.
Very. Yeah.
And that's just unavoidable.
It's part of it.
It's a part of it.
Yeah, it's part of like...
Yeah.
It's part of healing. It's part of purging. It's part of
It's not like a movie where everything resolves and then...
These movies have fucked us up.
Roll.
Yeah, these movies have really fucked us up, because that's what like the collective, that's like the collective consciousness. Like, I see it like, oh, you know, no.
Do you believe, like, what do you think? Do you think we come back? Do you think we... Do you think we have many chances?
I think like we can choose to come back. Like, I feel like maybe like, I don't know if like your life gets replayed or something. I don't know, something would happen where it's just like, you'll be like, fuck, I need to do it again. Like a game. Do you know what I mean? Like, fuck, I didn't do it well enough. So like, you'll be compelled to come back.
More to learn.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you know how people like old souls? Like, maybe you're an old soul because like, you're like, nah, I fucked up last time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have to come back and do it better and better and better. And that's why these old souls are so wise. But like, I feel like you get like amnesia or something. Like, that's part of it. Do you know what I mean? You can't know it all. Do you know what I mean? So you come, this is me. This is honestly what I feel. Yeah. So you have this like amnesia where you can't have it all. Do you know what I mean? And then that makes the journey even more beautiful, because you're learning again on the way. And then you have your little deja vu moments and your little like epiphanies. Like, whoa, does like kind of bring you into the web of life, that oneness again. You're like, oh shit. So I do believe we come back, but I feel like we have a choice. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we definitely do have a choice if we want to or not. What do you think?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I mean, I think like I don't think life ever ends.
Oh, 100%.
It certainly, we need to get a grip that we're born and we die, and that we need to resolve our feelings around that in our current society. Like, we need to have better ways of really talking about death and talking about birth and talking about, just so that we have that. Also, we can appreciate life too, so that we can have a better respect for life. But I do think, I think it's kind of also like, you know how you look back on like a photo of your great-great-grandparent, if you're lucky enough to have one. Yeah. And you look like them.
And it freaks you out.
And it's a bit like, oh, like, actually, we share a lot of the same genetics, and I'm an extension of that genetic history. And like, then I think, you know, like, I'm born with a certain amount of eggs in my body, and my mum was born with a certain amount of eggs in her body, and I was one of those eggs. And like her, like a babushka doll, you know, like, like, and that, you know, like, you might end up with your your great grandfather's Arab nose on your face, you know, like, so I think we live on in those ways, and character traits and like intergenerational like memories that are passed down in the body and those kinds of things. But who was it, Einstein, that said like energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed?
Yeah, facts.
And that really resonates with me as well. Like, I don't, like, it's simple to understand, but it's almost like codified. Like, there's a lot in there that you could
break it down with.
You could take that into your own, like,
however you want to see it, from what lens.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that, like, cycling, recycling, and even just like your body transforming through death as well. Like, your body transforming through life, first growing from two different entities inside a person. Wow, yeah. It's wild. It's so intense. And that the most important part in that whole process was the heart cell forming at the beginning as well. It's like, why is it that's got to be like a hierarchy of importance, right? If it was the lungs or the whatever, no, it was the heart. It's the heart, right? It's the engine. It's like heart. They rhyme. It's a start. It's the heart. I'm just 100%. There's little like clues like that
everywhere.
You know?
The fucking breadcrumbs are everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm still that person, but I see the breadcrumbs and I'll be like, whoa. It'll be like, bro, chill.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I'm like, no, because like to me that was something fucking magical, because these breadcrumbs are everywhere, and when you start connecting the dots, you're like, wow. And it gives life so much more fucking meaning and more sprite and life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine going through life without like putting these pieces together and having these little thoughts and conversations where it takes me down these little rabbit holes or like neural pathways through myself. I'm like, fuck. You know? Yeah.
And just having imagination as well. Like, I don't have, and I think too, like, for some people, they know what they want to do in life.
Yeah.
And they really hone in on developing an understanding of a particular interest area, or they know they want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And, like, so you pursue and you study and you know, but I'm a real kind of free form creative in that sense, you know. So, and there's no right or wrong. There's no better way, like, because we need people who have really specific expertise and so on. But as a mindset, I think having friends and people around you have really active imaginations who can just help guide conversations as well, where you don't have to land on anything solid, but you've just gone on a bit of a journey and the conversation is interesting because that person has kind of a unique way of thinking. So I do think that for me, it's not important to have like, yes, I believe in God and this is the God that I believe in. But I do know that it's too big for me to be the person who has the true opinion. You know, like, I'm going to have my feelings and intuitions, and no one's going to take that away from me. Like, they belong to me. Like, my life belongs to me. My conversation with myself belongs to me.
I like that. I really like that, yeah.
But it's in this day and age as well, where, like, we know so much now, and yet we know so little. I just like to think that the whole thing is kind of beautiful, you know. The whole experience of it is beautiful. Yeah. In the mess of it that is, that it is, the human aspect of it is, because like we are one life form,
one species. You're right.
Like, that's it. Like, what is the bacteria doing on like the surface of my hand?
Fact.
You know what I mean? Fact. Like, there's so many worlds.
Yeah, within our world. Yeah, I see what
so many
you're saying.
Worlds. And we, I think we kind of position our importance too much.
Yeah.
In the whole.
Like that human superiority complex or something. You heard of that? Like something like that.
It's just like where it's like everything else is just the background, like the stage for human experience to play out in. But yeah, like, who says that we're that important?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
especially the way we're going as well. Like everything else in nature has a function.
Facts.
Like it contributes in some way. There's a reason to be,
and it's
just
intuitive.
by being.
Yeah.
Like just by existing, it's got a function in the ecosystem. But like, what is our function? What is our function in the ecosystem?
Where do we stand?
What are we contributing towards?
Yeah.
Like whose lives are we benefiting by being here?
Imagine if we were like, if humans, like, our role was to like just balance things out and benefit everything else in the ecosystem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was just full selfless.
Yeah.
So like because we have that, I think that's our gift though, as humans, is to have that awareness. But like I feel like we're not using it for the earth. We're using it for our own kind of, I don't know, egoic game that we've got playing, you know?
Yeah, I guess we'll figure that out as we go.
Yeah.
We've still got a lot of figuring out to do.
100%. 100%.
Just got to fall over a million times
and
until
get
it
back
hurts.
up. I know. Let it heal, let the scars heal, and then it's so like constant. That's how I know it doesn't end, because it's like everything is like I'll have an awakening, then I'll have another one, and it just keeps going, and I know it's gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Like it's just an inner
Or
knowing.
I think it's gonna lead me somewhere where I'll find clarity, and rather than finding clarity, I find more confusion. It's true, right?
That hit home so well. Yeah, that really hit. That resonated heavily.
And it's like, I'm gonna follow this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow
and
this.
you really think that it's gonna be some like, and it's just that like a mad like slap in the face from the universe or yourself, or you're like, oh shit, yeah, nah, bro, that ain't it. Yeah. This has been amazing. We've done well.
I think we have.
We've done really good.
It's been enjoyable.
How was it, your first podcast?
Yeah, I've just enjoyed kind of just relaxing into a conversation.
Yeah.
And I hope people find it interesting.
100%.
Or just
there's someone out there that's definitely going to resonate with a lot of this. Maybe thousands, millions, billions. You never know.
It's a good lesson to learn, though. Like, it is difficult to speak openly with someone you don't really know very well.
Yeah.
And knowing other people are going to be listening.
Of course.
And to just be relaxed and not censor as you go. Just kind of use it as a bit of an experiment in sharing, you know?
I'm grateful. Thank you. I felt your energy just from the beginning, and you start opening up and opening up, and it's like, whoosh, she started flowing like this. Let's go. We could keep going, to be honest, but I don't know. I got a few more questions though that I had not pre-planned, but I was just like, wanted to get into and discover. We'll get into Atelier at the end, which is on its way. But what was he's that's Rob. He's so loud right now. Shout out to Rob. He does something else. It's a radio show. Yeah. Does skits and stuff. And I think his door's open, which is alright. Hopefully he doesn't pick up. But you heard that heavy on the mic, didn't you? Yeah. Alright, maybe we might wrap it up a little bit.
Okay.
So
alright, let's go through
Atelier we'll go to Atelier. Yeah. So what is when did Atelier start, and what's its purpose, mission? Yeah.
Well, and actually going back to our earlier conversation around pronunciation.
Yeah, this is perfect. Yeah. I fucked it up. You're like, this motherfucker. Yeah.
Well, I don't really know, because it's a French word.
Oh, it's French.
It's atelier.
Oh my God, I really butchered it.
Actually, no one pronounces it correctly, and it's difficult to kind of be the coordinator of a group no one can pronounce the name of. You got similarly to being a person in the world who I was gonna say no one can pronounce your name.
I was gonna say you got like that common little theme going. Yeah. Okay.
But it means studio, you know, like the artist studio, the place where things are made. Not just the artist, like any sort of craft-oriented activity. The atelier would be where something was made by a maker of a certain medium, you know?
Yeah.
and it's the French word for that. And it became the name for a benefaction group at the Art Gallery of New South Wales.
Wow.
So anyone listening would probably be familiar with our state gallery.
Yeah.
It's a public collection, but in order to actually keep it going, we need funds.
Of course.
So I guess it's taken for granted that, you know, operational funds and acquisitions funds come from the government, and that's not true. It's just a certain percentage. I can't remember the exact percentage, but I think it's something like 50%.
Okay.
So in order to actually provide a public space like that to be accessed and mostly for free, we need to raise funds.
Yeah.
Just to like even keep the doors open, you know. So and to buy artworks, to fund exhibitions, to run programs. So all the different things that we need to pay for, basically, we have to raise funds for.
Yeah.
And there's a really strong history of philanthropy through the foundation. And this is one group of many, many other groups, different interest areas. But this was specifically set up, I think, 7 years ago, 2016. So I think we're in our 7th year now, to address sort of the cliff edge that we're approaching in terms of not having enough young people involved or younger people involved in the philanthropy sides of things. So engaging with the gallery and giving to the gallery so that those funds can be pooled and then directed and deployed across the gallery to resource its needs.
Yeah.
So there are many groups. There's like conservation, there's contemporary collection benefaction, there's works on paper, there's Australian collection, there's women at the gallery, there's all sorts of groups, right? And this was a group that was initiated by a really amazing woman, Claire Ainsworth Herschel, who has gone on to do other really amazing things in the climate change space.
Oh, wow.
I don't like calling it climate change anymore. It feels a little bit too, it's like ecological collapse, right? It's so much more than just the climate changing.
Facts.
But yeah, she was already involved with the gallery in philanthropy and is just very naturally to her personality type. She's a very deeply philanthropic person, and she established it as a way to engage a newer, or not newer, but a new generation with giving at the gallery. So we're probably about 170 people, and the aim was to be sort of 100 next gen. Yeah. And next gen has become one of these things now. It's like, you know, you hear it everywhere.
Yeah.
As a kind of a bit of a buzzword, but it's really important to think of the next generation.
Facts.
The ones that haven't even been born yet. You know, and also, I guess, what it means to maintain a public collection and build a collection. It's not just art either. It's like our cultural history. It's like really appealed to me, getting involved as well, just as a civilian, getting involved with Atelier myself, thinking that, you know, I could, with my own money, earning my own money in the world, that could contribute to the public space as well. Like, so anyone can get involved, but it's still quite private in that philanthropy isn't something that's really in your face. It's really still like kind of quite behind the scenes. You know, people don't really know a lot about philanthropy in the Australian culture, I don't think. So yeah, I guess we're just building a community around engaging people to be part of the gallery community in that way, and then what it means to give, and then what impact that giving has. So, for instance, the event that you attended, were able to buy a work for the collection by Sam Lengethwa.
Okay.
Tribute to Efrain Natanye. Didn't pronounce that correctly, just so
it's
you know.
That sounded nice.
But it was a really significant moment for us because it meant that we could share in that with a community that in any other situation wouldn't have made sense, but for that evening, working with sounds of Afrobeats, it made sense to have a community based in Sydney share in our moment.
Yeah.
Who are relevant to that artwork as well. So it wasn't kind of like something that we all raised a glass of champagne to without actually engaging with a community that had relevance.
Culture that it's connected
exactly.
to. Yeah, I feel you.
And also just to think about like diversity within the group as well. You know, we're still mostly white.
Yeah.
Or, you know, of a certain level of affluence from a demographic point of view, that we're thinking about how we understand this city, how we can get to know our own city and open our doors a little bit more to celebrating potential and excellence in spaces that, you know, would normally be maybe sidelined or less obvious, you know. I don't know if that's making sense.
No, like a bit more welcoming. So
yeah, just I think like if the goal is to have diversity and inclusion, you can't expect it to just happen. You have to actually create a situation where a community can meet.
Yeah.
And you can introduce these ideas and you can invite people into the fold and they can feel more comfortable to get involved.
Yeah.
And be empowered by that experience and then see how that might further our collective vision as well. So, yeah, and I think for us over the years, we've like, as a group, we've really progressed ideas around what it means to have to be authentically diverse, like and committed to that. But again, like if the environment doesn't change and if the people don't change, then it's never going to change. So it felt like that acquisition was like the catalyst for engaging with a community that I'm hoping we'll be friends with and that there'll be people who come into the fold because of that experience that we had and that over the years we'll sort of build more patrons who come from different backgrounds and different perspectives because we're actually looking beyond our own walls, so to speak, you know? If that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. You guys are like visionaries. You're looking at it from like the futurists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is great. It's what we want.
It's like all this big talk about change. Like when it comes down to it, there's opportunities that you have to be like, okay, well, if we open up this experience and we're going to have different people coming through because of this experience, that's casting our net in a way, you know. It's like casting our net and seeing who might flow through that space and connect, and that can be kind of it's a conscious and intentional kind of way of directing where we're going rather than taking it for granted that change will just happen by itself. You kind of, if the conditions don't change,
you're putting it in your own hands. I see what you're saying. That's great. That's amazing. Shout out to Art. I don't want to say it. I'm gonna let you say it.
Yeah, and like anyone who wants to look it up, and anyone can be involved. So you give a certain amount every year. It's tax deductible, and those funds are pooled to So, you know, over the year you might have 100,000 to play with, and then you see where, or more sometimes, and then curators will come along and say, we need to buy this artwork for the collection, or we need to fund this exhibition, and then those funds can be put straight into those things. And if we didn't have those groups, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Wow. So can you like say like someone puts in those funds, can you like track those funds and like see like what artworks they bring in? Or
like every artwork will have, you'll note if you go to the gallery, if you pay attention and if you can be bothered, you read when you're reading the wall text, it'll have a credit line and it'll say so and so bought this for the collection. And it might be a benefaction group, or it might be an individual. Because a lot of we've just the gallery has just been working on building a new building. City Modern campaign. So that's about to come to fruition, which is really exciting. But someone had to pay for that. You know? People came in with funds and helped to pay for the stairs or the escalators or the new acquisitions or like everything has a cost,
of
course,
right?
And that the goal inevitably is so that the public can access these spaces for free.
Love that.
Like it has been a really like interesting process myself, because I'm new to philanthropy too, to understand how things get done, and that they're with the value system that we live in and the one that we live in,
our little fiat system,
exactly, but things have a price, you know, and if
facts,
we can be really idealistic, but at the end of the day you've got to find the money. It's
interesting because I was always under the impression, and I feel like a lot of people might be, that like the government basically forks out all the money for the Art Gallery of New South Wales and anything that has like, you know, an institution like that's connected, you know, whenever it says like New South Wales. So to know this, for everyone listening, like, no, that's not the case. Do you know what I mean? And is that just in the arts, would you say? Or is that across?
I think it's across the board.
Okay.
It's across the board. It's even with education and universities and different organisations. Like they might be receiving funding through the government, but there's other, that's not going to get you over the line. You know, it's not full funding. So there's all different streams of funding that you need. And this is one way of being part of it. But I think too, from the other side of it, like, it's great to be able to pay for things, but it's also like building a community where you're actively kind of building friendship, new friends, and having 6 or 7 events throughout the year to attend and celebrate in the gallery as a group, and throw parties and go to openings and feel like really like part of a civic experience, but also like to be part of really special moments,
meaningful moments
too. Like that's it's a good trade, you know.
Love it. Thank you for what you're doing. How do people, so is there a website for Atelier? Let's put an accent on it. I didn't even do it right.
You can go to the Art Gallery of New South Wales website, and there'll be like a join tab. But it's a little bit hard to navigate. So I'd recommend just Googling Atelier AGNSW join. And that the first thing will come up will be.
We'll put it on there. We'll put it on the.
And do join if anyone did find this conversation appealing. Or the idea of, you know, partying with a purpose together and buying
partying with a purpose.
Partying with a purpose.
I like that. And
buying amazing art for the collection and exhibitions as well.
I love that. Partying with a purpose. Get
amongst it.
Yes. Saha, thank you so much.
My pleasure. It was wonderful.
I'm grateful that you came through. You're so open and honest and transparent, and love this conversation. Is there anything you'd like to leave everyone with? I mean, maybe like some quote that's always hit home, maybe a little life lesson that you've come across that you've learned? Is there anything? It doesn't have to be long, can be short. Like you just like a little signature. When you finish a painting, you gotta put your signature on it.
Well, I think maybe just coming back to what we were talking about before. Just at the moment, I think and I've been finding that a lot of my friends are struggling, and we've all been through a lot in the last couple of years with the pandemic and what that's brought up for each other. It has been different. But just in general, like life can be hard, and I do think that it's important to really live from the heart in the way that we were talking about before. So yeah, if you are feeling like the difficulty just weighing down, and it has been on me for a little while recently too, but yeah, just coming back to that heart space and openness to kind of live in that way. That'd be my message to send. Just live from the heart, speak from the heart.
Love it. Saha, thank you. This is Conscious Conversations, real talk with real ones. Saha Jones, Coco the Conscious, aka Mr. Moods. Peace, family. Mr. Moves, set the